Okay. Okay, there was a method to the madness because Suppressed is an absolute nuisance. And on the other side, you have Quadrant, who are looking to go at him here. This is a series layout. King of the Hill live fire gonna be our game number 1. How do you feel about this layout so far?
When I look at this layout, it's really tough to assess. Sometimes I look for like, what are those kind of like really stable games versus snow bully games, and I feel like CTF Aquarius is stable. I feel like Recharge on Slayer is a very stable one that you can kind of just slow things down, but when I think of King of the Hill on Live Fire and Stronghold Street, those games are just gonna be so fast-paced and so punishing as soon as one thing doesn't go your way. So I look at it being kind of a chaotic start, and then it's gonna be a very slow middle of this game. Teams are gonna be able to play at the pace that they want to.
Yeah, Live Fire, Aquarius, Street, these are fast maps. These are punishing maps. These are maps at the moment you put your opponents on respawn, you punish them, you keep the pressure on, and I feel that's kind of exactly what Complexity Quadrant want to do. That's kind of what they're known for. So gonna be really excited. What's really interesting to me is Empyrean Slayer.
We've seen a lot of game fives. We've seen a lot of game 5s with that showing up.
That's all we cast, baby.
Right? Exactly. I hope this goes to a game 5, but like we said, that one is just such a delicate game. That one little snipe battle victory can turn from 1 kill to 10 kills for your squad. But no need to get ahead of ourselves, Tony. We're going into game 1. This could be Live Fire King of the Hill, kicking it off with Complexity versus Quadrant. Let's do it.
I heard you guys at home want to see sniper rifle plays, and that's exactly what we're gonna see here on Live Fire, the weapon that absolutely runs the map. Don't forget about that overshield. Don't forget about the repulse as well. That drop wall gonna come into play. Game number 1, Live Fire. Who's taking momentum in the series?
And who's going for Hill off the start? One big point of contention here on Live Fire King of the Hill is, do you just scrap up the first 10 to 15 seconds in the hill and give up overshield, or do you vie for both? It looks like neither of these teams jump in the hill right away. It's gonna be an overshield fight, and both these teams fighting away, but that's 3 down. Make that all 4 down for Complexity. Quadrant have control of the map.
What a start by Quadrant, immediately wiping Complexity, and then getting right over to the tower side with the sniper rifle. Sica ends up taking down Juziro real quick. No hill time being progressed so far, but Quadrant want this side of the map, and they're fighting for it.
That's a big mistake in my eyes for Quadrant. They had the kills. They could spread out entirely, put 1 or 2 near hill, 1 or 2 near OS, and get everything going at the same time, but because of it, they now lose the sniper. They only have a limited amount of time on this hill, and look at that, 6 snipe from Suppressed to stop that time right away. And just like that, the map flips, and we now got Complexity control.
You do not give Suppressed the sniper rifle. He's gonna suppress your offense, keep you as far away as possible as you see Quadrant spawning over toward the A side, trying to make any kind of movement here, but Suppressed is watching every angle, and Complexity are locking down this side of the map.
And that was just also brilliant deduction there from Suppressed. Suppressed knew that players were over near scoreboard, checked tunnels, saw no one come through tunnels, and knew the only answer could have been dummy doors, so decides to throw that pre-grenade and then back over towards Spillers with the squad.
All about that timing and rhythm and anticipating what your opponents are gonna do, and that's exactly what they do best. But now Sica getting right behind enemy lines into that stray grenade, gonna put him down to 1 shot. Eventually Sica goes down, so does Legend, and Complexity again push forward, keeping Quadrant back.
Great job by Complexity there. I mean, their name says it. They like to play complex, but they're just keeping it simple. They're just getting slays and jumping in the hill right away. And it is paying off, because if you look at the slays across the board, it's basically even. It's 14 kills for Complexity and 13 kills for Quadrant. But when you look at the objective timer, it tells a whole different story, because it's 1-0 for Complexity.
Quadrant forced to give up that A side of the map and immediately pushing onto that tower side, but the overshield has been depleted here, and so are their numbers. Complexity once again find the slays they were looking for. Even the trade started to go their way. Quadrant answered right back, and here comes 2 Foxy.
I like this play. All these members of Quadrant rolling on over towards the plat, but unfortunately Complexity have full control of Nest. Usually that's a spot that you can punish, but it felt like Complexity made the move so fast and so strong that they got control of C-Plat so quickly.
Complexity able to put Quadrant 3 down. Tusk is already making it toward the tower side, and we know how strong his long-range shot is. This is going to be tough for Quadrant to try to break the defenses that Complexity are looking to build up here, but Tusk does end up falling. Legend somehow gets the flank over toward the tower side, but he's not able to get the kill.
Yeah, so we're kind of seeing the difference between a successful Nest push, which we saw from Complexity, and an unsuccessful one there from Quadrant. I even enjoyed those little mind games we saw there with Tusk. Tusk realizing that that player's gonna try the sneaky jump over from the corner from the dirt and throws that pre-grenade.
Sniper rifle is up and suppressed, somehow getting it in hands, has to get down toward the bottom mid to stay alive, and that's exactly what he's gonna do, but he's out of the play right now. He needs to get back in.
Yes and no. Like, one thing you have the luxury of is if you have that sniper, you can back all the way across the map, so he can rotate all the way towards Garage if he really wants to, as long as his team has some control near tower. Now, this is gonna force the members of Quadrant to decide which half to go to if they were pushing towards Hill. In a situation like this, though, Quadrant make the correct play since they're already near the hill. They're gonna take Hill and not even bother with running over all the way over towards sandbags to stop that sniper.
Despite the fact that Complexity were taking so much space on the map, Quadrant are still able to get the kills they were looking for, and now 2Foxy snatches up that heat wave and sniper rifle. Complexity already pushing Nest and have the overshield.
And look at that, trading out that overshield damage with the heat wave, but Juziro's gonna jump right in the hill, trades out of melee. It's just kill after kill, just Tusk versus SLG. Such a pivotal battle right here, one-on-one. And who's gonna come out ahead? Tusk gets some help from 2Foxy.
So far, this has been an absolute battle of war. Just trying to control any part of that, whether it's the C side, whether it's the A side, no matter where this hill goes, both of these teams are struggling. Just tells you how evenly matched they are. But 2Foxy gets himself a huge kill. Now works onto Tusk, takes him down as well. So 2 quickly going down for Complexity, and 2Foxy being an absolute nuisance.
Yeah, being a nuisance, staying alive as long as possible, but still no time really being put up here for the Quadrant roster. They're doing a great job keeping up or going ahead in slays during these last couple minutes or so. But when you look at the scoreboard, it's all Complexity in the hill, and just like that, doing a great job staying alive, but no time on the board to show for it. You need to find that right balance and know when you need to stick your feet in the hill.
Halo Infinite, the ultimate team game, is there's only so much you can do by yourself. 2Foxy finding out the hard way, because that's back-to-back 3 downs that go in favor of Complexity. Suppressed, now wide over toward the Nest side. Complexity controlling every single avenue on the map.
And such a good spread-out defense there for Complexity. You saw over at Nest, you saw CyKul all the way over towards the plasma grenades, and then one of those players, whether it's CyKul or Tusk, is gonna rotate back over to help their teammates as soon as they realize where the pressure's coming from. Because when Quadrant spawns, they're gonna spawn in one area and they can't fan out that quickly. They're only gonna be able to come from one side, and so I love that they have those little scouts there from Tusk and CyKul to spot out where those opponents are gonna be coming from.
And it's gonna pay off for them. Not only are they able to get away with that sniper rifle, but they have the overshield as well. The play caller, Juziro, heat wave, overshield combination, a 2-0 lead. Quadrant might be in trouble.
Yeah, this is not looking good for Quadrant here right off the bat. One thing that is good, though, for Quadrant is Complexity are trying to go for the score, so they're not trying to just run this timer out, because that can be scary. Sometimes you go that top center hill with only a little bit of time left, and you feel like you have to desperate in there every single time. But at the same time, it's also not great to go down 3-0, because they are not stopping, they're not slowing down, and look at that great communication. Also, it's even screen watching there from Tusk, just looking at his teammate's screen to see, all right, there's somebody over that plat. Are they charging top center? How much time do I have? And position himself all the way towards window to delay this push as best he can.
Come on, Wash, you already know Tusk has been screen watching all last season. He was coaching FaZe literally just at the end of last year. He's been watching screens. He knows what he's doing. Now he tossed the clipboard aside. He's like, let me show you youngins how it's done. As Complexity of 2-0, about to be 3-0 Quadrant. Don't be careful.
Yeah, Quadrant luckily scrapping up some time here, but they cannot mess up this fight. This fight is so crucial. That's gonna be 3 down for Complexity. CyKul, the only one remaining. SLG wisely gonna jump in the hill, and this one should be the first point going on the board for Quadrant. And what an important point to get, especially how close Complexity are. SLG decides to step out, and try to fight that over at scoreboard. Now you have to wonder if it's coming back to bite him, because this hill is being heavily contested. Tusk gets the kill, getting the final few points here. And what a swing. Complexity take the 3rd hill and are up 3-0.
Right as Quadrant finally start to get something going, just about a second away from taking that hill, Complexity snatched that up, along with the hopes of Quadrant coming back in this game, because now Complexity just 1 hill away, and Quadrant, although playing well, they are simply getting outplayed by Complexity at every turn.
Yeah, just getting outmaneuvered. Obviously, at this point, they're getting outslayed with 14 kills in favor of Complexity, but they're just getting outmaneuvered. When they step out of the hill and have nobody scrapping up time in the hill, that player that's away from the hill, the one that was near Keydor, says, I don't have to charge anymore. I can play this slow. They know where players are going to be at, and so that seems to be kind of a bit of a desperation charge or push from a member of Quadrant just to try to get that finish.
And Suppress able to finish his kills with that assault rifle there, now going in for some more. He looks to clear out this hill. Juziro and Suppress working a little 1-2 combo. They're gonna deal with one. There's two more over toward the seaside, and one more member of Quadrant trying to surround Complexity. But so far, Complexity have been answering every push. The defense too strong.
Yeah, on every single angle, they have some support over near sandbags where CyKul is just taken out. They had Juziro helping over near tower, and during that entire time while they're trading kills, Complexity putting time on the board. They do such a good job of scrapping up time and slaying at the same time.
Well, we now know who's the kings of live fire. It's Complexity, nothing complex about it. That's a 4-0 sweep. Quadrant barely looking present on the map.
They just looked so impressive there. Even in a time where they were getting outslayed, Complexity was putting more time on the board. Right out the gate, we talked about how Quadrant, they had the overshield, they had sniper, but they had no time. They need to react faster to the objective rather than reacting too fast to slays. It feels like they're just tunnel vision on kills.
I remember I got the chance to talk to Shurzy and Onset about the old Ascent roster from last year, and he said that one thing they would do is they would kind of play up and down to the competition, and it's kind of carrying over right here, right now. Quadrant were able to take the likes of the Sentinels and the Optics to a Game 5. Now maybe they're overlooking Complexity. Maybe they need to show Complexity a little bit more respect. Otherwise, they might just get swept.
Yeah, but when you're in the elimination bracket, I don't think Quadrant's taking any team lightly here. I think it's just a testament to how strong Complexity are playing. Complexity, they went through the blender. They went through open bracket. Your team is fired, you're fired up. You're forged through pressure in a situation like that. You've gone through every single thing teams are going to throw at you. They're going to throw out their players at you, trying to win every single one-on-one. They're going to try to just charge at you in every single direction. But Complexity has stayed calm, cool, and collected. They've just played their game. That's how you make it through open bracket, is you play your game. If you're just relying on being on fire and winning specific fights, you'll make it far, but you will not make it out.
Yeah, I believe it was Coach McRinn who's actually coaching Complexity. I had to talk to him a little bit as well, and he said that there's going to be a lot of teams out there that people are just going to start giving flowers right away, but it's not about the names. It's about performance, and it's about how the team gels together. And Complexity are just that team where they know their role, and they play it to perfection. You're seeing that right here. You saw it through the open bracket. They took down some heavy hitters, and now they have their eyes set on Quadrant, up 1-0 in the series, moving into Slayer Recharge.
Yeah, Slayer Recharge, like I said, this one and CTF Aquarius, yes, they can pick up pace and such, but a team can play to whatever pace they're most comfortable with. When I felt like Quadrant at the beginning of Live Fire King of the Hill, maybe they were playing at a pace they're comfortable with, but that was not the right play when it came to the objective there on King of the Hill. So here, we're gonna see if this switches up for Quadrant at all, or if Complexity are just gonna keep on rolling through the competition.
Dave, let me show you my head-to-head real quick, because I know back in your day you were an objective player. You ain't get no slays. You ain't get no slays. Let me show you. I ain't never seen nothing. I saw you shooting dead bodies in defense. I ain't seen you shooting live bodies. Well, let me show you some Slayers right here. My man Suppressed, the leading damage to the 1.16 Slayer, KDA and Slayer, excuse me, and also 4,300 damage. Meanwhile, 2 Foxy, 1.13. Only has died 11 times per game, a decent amount of damage. I want to highlight these two, because not only are they Slayers when it comes to the Slayer game type, but they're also the newest members on each of their rosters. The sub coming in from 2 Foxy, Suppressed coming onto this team last week. Watch out for 2 Foxy versus Suppressed in this matchup.
Yeah, very similar stats, but very different results so far in this series. So we're gonna kick it off, like you said, though, with Recharge Slayer. Who do you want to see? You want to see the new guy of the squad? You want to see Suppressed?
Show me some Donnie. Show me Suppressed. one of the 3 Halo playing triplets, and they're all dang good. Avenue, Diagram, and Suppress the oldest he...
Triplets now?
Yeah, they tried
I had to deal with twins and stuff back in the day, like ogres and lunchbox and Brian stuff, but you're telling me triplets are now coming out into the scene.
Hey, well, you know, in a couple of years, it's going to be quadruplets.
I can't handle this, Tony.
Coach.
I cannot handle this whatsoever. I know Boo Boo Doo has a whole clan of a family. I'm hearing triplets now. I retired arguably a little late, but I retired at the right time.
Camouflage in the hand of Legend from Quadrant here. CyKul right around the corner, able to deal with one, but can he get the double kill onto Juziro? Stays alive, returns to sender. Don't trust the mailman around here.
They did such a sick repulse right there. Huge, huge play on Legend. And this is what they need, though. They need to have a strong start and then also follow this up. So I want to see what we're going to see out Quadrant during these stalemate situations. Because Complexity, they looked incredibly comfortable during those fast times, during those unorthodox positions. But now that they're having to push through the defenses of Quadrant, who's coming out ahead? It looks like Complexity did just fine there with that push, even though it's kind of risky to push 3 members out through pipes.
It's funny because I thought Tusk was in a 1v2 right there, but luckily he won. Just enough time for the rest of his team to push on in and push Quadrant out of the A side, but it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish and where's the follow-up. Quadrant immediately coming off the spawn and making their presence known. Tusk gonna work a little 1-2 combo over toward the C side. Can Complexity break through?
Yeah, last time when we saw during a stalemate situation, we saw Complexity just charge 2 or 3 members towards elevator where they found a battle. And you see this, all these members of Complexity, they hear where noise is at, they hear where action is at, they all look. You saw Juziro pushing through pit, you saw Tusk over on the stairs, all looking towards elevator and catwalk. So as soon as someone makes a noise, these players are rabid killers. They're just looking for the action and all locked in on that area.
Big double kill by Juziro before being taken down there as we switch gears over towards Suppressed. I talked about him being one of the main powerhouses when going into Slayer, but right now 1 and 3 might not be able to cut it, but another assist comes in. Suppressed somehow able to stay alive. I don't know where that grenade come from. I know he's complaining about it too.
That was actually a sick angle from Sica. Over down in the pit, just realized they could look over to blow up those grenades with a remote detonation, or just get a finished headshot from anyone poking out there. So interesting angle. We're now seeing these players here in Halo Infinite in the 2nd year of HCS know where they can get some unorthodox finishes versus just standing in the power positions every single time.
Back-to-back kills now going in favor of Complexity. With those newfound numbers, they're going to want to get aggressive with the Juziro has that green gun in hands, and Complexity not only able to lock down this gold side of the map, but you even start to see some members start to push up over toward the C side. On Halo Infinite, you got to control both sides. You can't get caught up in just one section.
One thing also look at that last sequence though, Tony. Quadrant, they had a 4-on-2 across the map. It was Juziro and one of his teammates just sitting there in pipes, not certain where Quadrant was, so that was just great allocation across the map from Quadrant. Complexity didn't want to just charge out from pipes around the corner and walk into Ace or a trap, but at the same time, their teammates got outnumbered over towards Control and C-Plat.
It's been an early lead in favor of Quadrant, are playing great at the moment, especially Legend. 10 and 4, 2 assists to go along with it. Complexity have been clawing their way back into it, but somehow Quadrant he'll hold on to this lead. SLG going right in for the challenge. Tusk had the help he was looking for, Juziro, and now we see him drop down early, gonna have to challenge Legend. This is a pivotal battle, and he can't win that one.
And you know what I think happened there also in that battle, Juziro? I think Juziro kind of had a half second in his head where he's like, do I shoot the grenade for a remote detonation? And at some point, as soon as you're not focused on the fight and that shot, a player like Legend's just gonna 4-shot you.
Yeah, they're gonna take advantage of your indecisiveness. If you gotta be quick, you gotta be decisive with every single move you make here on Recharge. 25-23 lead though in favor of Quadrant. CyKul holding down the gold side. Now the game gonna slow down just a bit.
Like I was saying, this one has the ability to slow down the pace that players want to play. And to me, this says that Quadrant wants to play just a tad bit slower. I was hearing some of the Australian players talk earlier yesterday over in the open bracket in the pit, and they were just saying, yeah, honestly, like, some of the NA players just fly a little too fast. Like, they don't have the same, sometimes, level of competition over in EU and in Australia, that they get used to these players just flying right away. And so sometimes they need just that extra second or two to gather themselves and make that push, and that can be the difference maker, as we found out here at the highest level play in NA.
Yeah, understanding one meta over on one side of the world, you know, it's great, but you get better by just playing against other competition and finding new ways to counter different strategies. As you see Suppressed, he has one strategy, go off with the shock rifle. You see Legend, he has one strategy, get into your face, drop a double kill. That's the strategy I'm looking for.
Such a sick maneuver there from Legend. Even realizing that he was outnumbered, backs away into the hallway, and realizes even that person rounds the corner, he has a straight up one-on-one and hits the 6 shots to get the kill. So I love that play by Legend, just knowing how to perfectly maneuver on the map, avoid certain angles so he's not getting double teamed, even though he was outnumbered in the pipes.
I hate to sound like a broken record, man, but look at Legend. 15-7 now, 3 assists. His team has 33 kills at the moment. He has nearly half of the team's kills by himself. Camouflage coming up, and although Legend has all the kills and the Quadrant looking good with the lead, they need to get in position for this Camouflage.
And Legend somehow still keep his composure there. 1, he assumed he had the back smack. 2, he assumed he had the double shot melee. And 3, decides to get the finish when he needed, but that was just a little risky, a little scary. And it's cool to see a top player keep their composure in those times, because a lot of times that would throw somebody off and let them get tilted.
Juziro finding the exit route. Wanted to get into battle, but he knows what's more important is just staying alive with his camouflage. But now he almost had an easy back smack on the player. Turns around, repulses him back. Juziro goes down, at least takes down one with him.
A lot of fighting going on in just random positions in my eyes. It feels like these players just getting some damage across the map and just kind of flying. I don't really see one squad trying to hold something like glass and elevator, another one trying to hold these different positions. It's more of like, all right, where's the damage? Let's fly on over. And I think that's something that you're gonna see when you're at a range of, let's say, like the top, you know, like 9 through 24 and such. But when we get to some of these other top teams, like let's say top 8, top 4, these teams are gonna have a real strategy of holding a specific area, and then once they get weak, they're collapsing for those kills and then reverting back to holding a specific setup that they can catch people in traps with.
Now we're starting to move into the end game here, and now we're finally seeing some separation in the scoreboard. A 43-39 lead, make it 44, the largest lead that we've seen so far in this game. Complexity seemingly have woken up here, despite the fact that Legend has 20 kills at the moment. Complexity are controlling Recharge. On board now with CyKul, gonna try to push up right through the tower side. Juziro gets into his own battle, he can handle his own. Another camouflage is coming up, but this game might be over before it hits the battle.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, not much room for error. Jukeboxy going down, and 2 kills away here for Complexity. You have been hyping up Legend, but also Juziro there on Complexity roster. 19 kills and only 11 deaths.
I thought he was a play card. I thought he was an IGL. I thought he'd just sit back and hide while his teammates slay for him, but no, just
Yeah,
Zero.
he's an in-game leader as far as kill count goes. That's what he is.
He leads by example. As Suppressed with the camouflage, looking for the final kill here. Wants to do it in style, so maybe a little 360 shock rifle or a Guardian Angel. Which Quadrant might need one right now, because you're down 0-2 and Complexity are looking dominant.
Complexity looking scary good, and like I said, based on how they've been playing so far today by taking G1 to a game 5 and getting a few other matches under their belts, I feel like they have to be really comfortable up on that stage at this moment. So they want to just keep that momentum rolling and go into a game number 3.
From the moment I heard that when Complexity entered pools, they swept TSS, I knew that they were coming into form. They went against their old teammate Inceptify, and I thought that maybe TSS might have had the advantage. I thought maybe we'd go to game 5 in a quick sweep, but I said, hold on. Complexity are looking different. Is this finally the Complexity that we've been waiting for? Because online, they've always seemed to have great results. You know, top 8, maybe even top 6 last season, but now, looking like they're ready to translate that here on land.
Yeah, they're just looking mighty strong. There were some moments of it felt kind of like I said, some sloppiness. This was that back down that I thought was so well done from Legend. Instead of poking out Foley and just challenge that over on the other side of pipes, made them both come around that corner to get that finish where you could isolate a 1v1 or isolate that player who was one shot if they had to charge back around. But as I was highlighting before, as far as Complexity, I felt there was some sloppiness. And some points that these games are gonna get scrappy, and some points you can't just overanalyze and be like, we have to hold this or this. Like sometimes you just have to go out swinging, win your gunfights, and Complexity did that. But I feel like There's a minor bit of sloppiness from both these squads from how good they are. It feels like there's I don't know what it is, just some chaotic moments that I wouldn't expect this far into the tournament.
I got another head-to-head for you real quick, because I give you credit. You were a great objective player back in the day. So how about I throw some objective players on the screen here?
What do we got here?
Talk specifically about capture the flag. My man, Juziro, and then we have SLG. SLG has this weird way of just staying alive and being a nuisance in his opponent's base. It's funny because that sounds like a player I know, and he also has the most steals per game on his team. Look at that, 70. I love what I'm seeing on the board for SLG, but just
so maybe a lower KD, but also a higher conversion rate as he's getting more captures per game. And keep in mind, yes, caps go up to 5, but at this highest level of play, we are not frequently seeing all 5 captures being acquired. This could depend on how many Imperium CTFs they've played, how many Argyle CTFs. There's a lot of these games that'll be lower scoring, so to be able to average almost a cap every single game is going to be that difference maker for your squad.
You know, forget the series score, forget the way complexity looked in the pool play, forget everything.
You made me forget a lot, Tony.
Forget everything, because
I'm already old. I'm forgetting most everything.
Well,
so
I just saw Juziro with a back-to-back Lakers champion hat, so that just tells me that complexity already right now. You know, I love me some LeBron. I don't know, is Juziro the LeBron of Halo? Well, probably not.
Possibly. We will find out. It's going to take a little bit more results, I would have to see. But regardless, showing up here, dropping so many kills in game number 2 on Recharge, and gonna have to keep that momentum as we go into game number 3, Aquarius CTF.
If there's one thing I have learned about this Quadrant roster is don't count them out. Because the moment you do, they're gonna make you pay every time. They're gonna bounce back. I wouldn't be surprised if Quadrant go back-to-back. Just like Juziro's hat says, I wouldn't be surprised if Quadrant go back-to-back, take this capture the flag, which by the way, they're a phenomenal capture the flag team, go into the second objective, and then this ends in a game number 5. We've been casting game 5s all weekend, and Quadrant, they don't disappoint.
You know, there's part of me, obviously my heart wants that to happen, but my brain is saying complexity. They're just looking like the better team right now. When it came to objective game in game number 1, even when we looked at Juziro's KD in CTF across the board, much stronger than SLG's. It just seems like everything right now is pointing to complexity, closing this one out 3-0. Like you said, Quadrant's back is against the wall. They're gonna come out swinging, but they have to adjust whatever is going wrong on their end. They were close in game number 2. Game number 1, not close. I mean, 4-0, King of the Hill. Yes, they were close on that second hill, but outside of that, it was just complexity's game the entire time. So I really feel like it's going to be difficult to do all those perfect fine tunings here in a game 3 on main stage with your backs against the wall.
Well, what if I throw a little bit of a wrench in that? What if I say there's one thing that we're not accounting for, and maybe that's the X factor? Because remember, man, Quadrant, they got their starting player at home right now that wasn't able to make it through. There's one thing I love is a team that's fighting for more than just a win. That more than just series by series. They're doing this for Chick back at home. I'm just saying that one way to make Chick proud is go back to back, go to game 5, pull off the reverse sweep. Quadrant, do you have it in you?
We'll have to see, and you know Chick has to be giving some advice from home. You know, I'm sure after a series, when he's watched it online, texting saying, hey, this little thing you maybe need to be doing different, and I'm sure giving some great advice, trying to do the best they can to be a 5th or 6th man.
Well, I think it's about 5 o'clock right now. We've seen plenty of games so far on screen, but there's also plenty of games that are going on in the background. Why don't we take a look at the elimination bracket and see where we're coming here so far? Okay, Sentinel's already up. Proton Gaming and Native White going at it 2-0 right now. 2 very strong teams who made it out of open. Of course, we know Complexity have 2 over Quadrant, but we're also waiting for Shopify Rebellion and TSS to go at it. By the way, back at Scrims,
Shopify's went up 2-0 as well, so looking like there could potentially be sweeps across the board here in elimination round 1. Not gonna say that's gonna be the guaranteed case, but all these teams, Sentinels, Native White, Complexity, all coming out so strong here right out when their back is against the wall in the elimination bracket. I mean, there's no more room for error here. One series and you're out once you're in the elimination bracket.
It's crazy because last time we saw TSS and Rebellion scrimming against each other, I believe it was TSS. They got the best of Rebellion by a couple of games, but now Rebellion almost able to sweep them, just like Complexity one win away from sweeping Quadrant, your #1 ranked team. I'm sorry, excuse me, #2 ranked team coming out of EU. Let me throw some respect on Navi's name. I almost forgot. My bad.
No, I mean, you expect Quadrant to be the #1, but obviously those two teams just going back and forth a little bit sometimes in their qualifiers. But enough about the EU battles. We got EU versus NA. It's going to be Complexity, who is up 2-0 against Quadrant now. Can Quadrant bring back some life into the series, or are Complexity going to sweep EU and send them home? We're kicking off here on Aquarius CTF. Juziro last game dropped 19 kills. I want to see how he's starting off in this game #3. So please, observer, give me some Juziro off the start.
It might be 5 p.m. here on the East Coast, but over in France, I bet it's like 9 o'clock. What I'm trying to say is, Quadrant, it's time to wake up. You need a win here.
They need to indeed, and that is going to be 2 down for each side. You see Juziro has Heat Wave, but I would argue whoever has that util side of the map is in a little stronger position. It looks like Suppress is over towards util side. We see Juziro rotate over to help his teammate on that side. And here's gonna be the classic push. You get the util side, the opposing team space, you eventually make a push in towards the flag and you run it back out towards util.
Juziro wants to stay alive with this Heat Wave, but he also wants to put it to work, and a missed shot might end up costing him as he trades out his life with Sica right there. Wanted him to do a little bit more with that.
Yeah, you'd like to see a little bit more, but at least getting the trade out, and that's gonna be a random pull here from SLG. This could be a great push here from Quadrant as long as they don't give up free kills. Sometimes if you pull a flag without having the slays, you set your team up for disaster. And here comes the counter pull. Complexity, they have numbers, and so they run the flag in the same direction. That's the correct rule of thumb that I always throw out there. If you have more firepower than the other team on the map, run the flag in the same direction, kill them on the way back, and recover the flag at the same time, and that's exactly what Complexity are doing. Returning the flag and continuing the run all the way through Car 1.
Complexity winning that flag standoff, and on top of that, putting Quadrant 3 down. Only one player in position to make a play, and who is it? The sub? 2 Foxy slowing down that flagpole, but didn't slow it quite enough. I believe Complexity might be able to run that in, but oh my gosh.
Sica with a nice grenade. But ultimately, if Quadrant are going to get this flag recovered, they need to get control of this util side. And there's just too many members here for Complexity. That's Sica and Lqgend down for Quadrant. And that's going to be the first flag going in for Complexity shortly.
1-0 lead for Complexity. CyKul to be rewarded the kill for that one. He's not done yet. Also putting cross-map damage with that commando on the players over towards top mid. Not done. Once again, now going to work on SLG. Somehow CyKul able to cap that flag, but also stay alive and put down max damage on the map.
And I didn't see who pulled the flag initially there for Complexity, but keep in mind, SLG was the one that first pulled the flag there for Quadrant. As we were looking at those 2 objective players, we saw on average, SLG is going to pull that flag an average of like 2.3 or 2.6 times per game. So we already seen one of them. He's got a couple more up his sleeve.
Switching gears over towards Lqgend, him and Sica able to clear out that east side of the map, and cross-map shots trying to tag up the car side players as they're looking to relay this flag forward, slaying while winning the objective at the same time. A high-risk, high-reward. Get shots like that, get yourself double kills like that, killing sprees like that. It's always going to work in your favor. Quadrant moving up.
Such a game-changing kill right there by Lqgend, and also the perfect reaction afterwards is charging straight over and being a factor on this flag run. He's still not done yet. On the hunt for Tusk, and he's gonna hang that on his wall, and he's mounts Tusk and trades out the kill.
Now just a momentary 1v1 between SLG and Juziro. CyKul does come off his spawn, but has to get into the action here. Meanwhile, SLG fighting for his life. He's not going to be able to win that one. Complexity already with a counter pull.
Juziro getting one of his 3 flag pulls at least, but that's going to be just a distraction, trying to toss out and the bombs on the map and hope that the rest of the Complexity roster can make something happen here and get the slays. But Tusk falls, Suppress falls, Juziro spawned recently, CyKul falls. This is looking like it's going to be a Quadrant cap. Reason being is that Quadrant's players are going to respawn closer and faster, but no! A large challenge there from Lqgend on Juziro. That flag is going to return on its own, and that is not going to be a cap for Quadrant. I feel like that was too aggressive of a play maybe Legend was feeling himself, and sometimes you can't blame him, but ultimately, you need to wait and get that flag touch.
And not only are they able to get that return, but Suppress sneaks away with that heat wave and camouflage combination. Wants to get close quarters as he takes down 2 players, obliterates 2 players. And now there's just 2 left over toward the fringe side. Complexity feel comfortable enough to move that flag forward. Suppress is just being a nuisance over toward the base. And Quadrant, don't be careful. This could be a double pull on top of the next cap.
This could be a double pull. I mean, they have the strong positioning. I love how they're taking those long-range heat wave shots. You won't see that as much online, but on land, you can connect with those so well. I like this play actually back Suppressed. Many would say just stay in the base and wait it out this entire time. But Suppressed realized that he's getting isolated all the way across the map and wants to meet up closer to the center of the map where he can team up with his squad and get some damage. And look at that, gets the stop there. That's 2 down, 3 down for Quadrant. SLG, the only one remaining, and that flag is getting recovered by Tusk.
And because of that reposition that you mentioned, Suppress almost single-handedly awarded being able to stop that flag, but the return not quite in just yet. It's still an absolute battle here over toward the Quadrant courtyard. CyKul working on Sica. That's going to be an easy kill for him. He knows the spawners are coming from the opposite side. Complexity should be able to return this easily.
They should, and I was gonna say, I was expecting CyKul just to bait that flag for the last couple seconds. That way you can just get a free kill and then go for the recov, but seeing how that's ticking through and not enough action going across, CyKul just wants to secure SLG with a sick triple. Now, how fast do Quadrant convert that triple into map control and subsequently a flag grab?
Despite the plays being made to get that flag return, SLG answers right back with a triple kill, keeps it going. Luckily, Juziro gonna heat check him real quick right there, but Quadrant keeping the pressure on.
I'm just seeing some slight disconnects here from this Quadrant roster during some of these flag runs. Right there, SLG had the slays, knew that someone was likely spawning near Fridge. That'd be a great time to run towards util. The other time previously, as they had the flag down their util, instead of challenging the fight over in courtyard, need to go get that touch in the utility. Once again, it just feels like just slight little pauses if they take a quick breath, understand which way they need to run that objective or cover that objective. But there are definitely some moments of panic and some mistakes being made from the Quadrant roster.
Whether it's the timing or the rhythm or even just the small talk communication, something has to be polished up just a little bit, and that's what we're looking for. Meanwhile, Suppress looking for his triple because he just got a nasty double kill to clear out his base. Quadrant. Such a fast team, like we said, keeping that pressure forward. I'd love to see that, but Complexity are answering back every time, and now that defense converts to offense.
And look at that, Suppress finding Legend out. And honestly, at this point, if I'm on Complexity's roster, I'm calling out Legend every single time. Legend has just been on a heater, winning all his one-on-ones. And when somebody's on fire like that, or if somebody is starting to be a nuisance on the opposing team, take your opportunities to shut them down. Treat them a little more important than the rest of their roster. Yes, the very top tier rosters, you have all players that can go off at certain times, but in a specific series or specific moment, if somebody is on fire, try to put them out.
Also, did you do that to anybody on the opposite team back in your day? It sounds like you're speaking from experience.
Absolute
Who gave you some
experience.
problems?
I can speak from absolute experience. I remember when we lost, it was Orlando to Straight Rippin', and Neighbor was just on a tear against us. This was Final Boss versus Straight Rippin' 07 Orlando. We were like, all right, we need to make sure this player doesn't get away with all these flanks and these moments, and we were aware of all the different flank routes, and we shut him down every chance we got. It was at the cost of a tournament, but later on, that next tournament at Vegas, we won, and he was not able to get away with anything against us.
Who's going to be that Neighbor-like player here for Quadrant? Again, fighting for their tournament lives right now. Complexity still up 2-0 in the series, also 2-0 in this game. It is only 3 minutes on the clock, a flag standoff, but Quadrant desperately need this cap.
Quadrant trying to get this kill, gets the finish on CyKul, but CyKul gets taken out by Tusk. Tusk gonna move back in towards the back flag, and we are back at even Stevens.
Juziro trying to quietly make it his way over toward the car side. Doesn't have the exact help he needs, but if he gets behind enemy lines undetected, it could be a big play for him in Complexity.
I like this play. Basically, once you're near the 50-yard line during a stalemate scenario, unless you feel like you can fully slip on through and get that flank, you need to just pause for a second, see who else is trying to make a move on that 50-yard mark. Nobody's just fully sitting back on their side, or both teams aren't fully sitting back on their side. And it's gonna be a double return from both sides, but Juziro and squad in better position to go get a new pull.
Yeah, I love the pinch, the choke point that Complexity were able to create right there, but they end up losing their flag return as well. Quadrant able to get that return on the opposite side, and now to Foxy, not able to clear out the utilities. So CyKul has been described as one of the most annoying players in the game, is in your utility, and he's already tagging you.
I'm glad you clarified in the game, because that'd just be a nasty thing for us to bring up on the broadcast. Like, yeah, CyKul outside the game, just one of the most annoying players. If you're around him, just do not listen to his nonsense.
I mean, he is young. He's like 16, 17 years old. I'm just saying. Camouflage coming up. Camouflage stolen by CyKul. That's going to be annoying for Quadrant. Less than 2 minutes on the clock, and now we're going to find out what Quadrant is really made of. Have you been practicing your 2-minute drills?
Yeah, and Complexity playing this wise. So far, I see them just going for this 50-yard line, going for slays, being in strong positions, not trying to force too much. The worst thing that Complexity could do right now is try to force themselves too far across the map, make some easy mistakes, and give Quadrant map control and a potential counter cap.
SLG definitely feeling the pressure, definitely feeling the strain here. He's going to try to do anything he can to alleviate that. Pushing up, trying to create something out of nothing, because they have no slays at the moment, but they're continuously pushing the flag forward. Sica and Suppress trade out their lives. Their SLG gonna drop the flag, doubles back with the commando. What a play by SLG, and now that flag's sitting in no man's land. Can they bait it out? One more kill, and Quadrant should be able to push that forward. They don't even need it. Quadrant are getting it toward the util.
Great play. Staying over at the opposite utility until you knew it's the time to move across. But now, Quadrant, they need to revert towards slay mode. Go for kill right here. This flag isn't just gonna be instantly and quickly returned, but look at that Tusk right behind enemy lines. Get the recovery, and just a mismanaged resource right there from Quadrant and SLG. I felt like it was a great play to go back towards the back of the base. The flag was out in open position, but at some point you need to know if somebody can get on over there and get their recovery. So that one is gonna be tough to bounce back from. That could have given some life there to Quadrant if they got that capture, but now they have to play absolute perfect Halo for 17 seconds, somehow rally 2 flags back. Let's see if they can do it. That's 3 down for Quadrant. SLG, the closest one to the Complexity flag, gets taken out, and that timer's gonna tick down from 6 seconds down to 0. Complexity already handing out fist bumps and celebrating their 3-0 victory.
Quadrant go down. What a miraculous run. We saw them early on in this tournament. We saw them in pool play take multiple top squads to a game 5. We saw them run amok, pull off some major upsets, but eventually Complexity come out of open. They make their presence known, and now they're advancing forward to elimination round 2. Quadrant will be going home.
Just as Complexity have been doing all weekend long through the open bracket, they have been crushing dreams, knocking teams out of this event, and they are not stopping just yet. Huge play by Complexity to not only bounce back from that tough Game 5 loss against G1, but to do it in such dominating fashion and set the tone for the rest of this elimination bracket run.
Complexity coming back to their side. Going to talk about that series a little bit, but in a little bit of celebration. But how long is that going to last for? You got another round ahead of you, but let's take a look at the series layout. 3-0, 4-0 in that game number 1. Dominant, 50-44, much closer, and I will say just a couple things go their way, and I can imagine Quadrant being put on the board, but it ends up being 2-0 in that game number 3. Another sweep for Complexity.